Hi, I'm Jeffrey. I am going to make a little video on how to set up the Woody Mannequin for the Hobie displays. It fits inside the Hobie Mirage kayaks, and he's a little mannequin that pedals the boats. He's great for boat shows. So what I have here, I have two different Woodies. There's what we call the V2 and we have the V3. Both these mannequins, they're going to set up and you're going to build them the same. They're going to work the same. They have the same motor, but there's some differences. So as I make the video, I'll go over the changes that we've made in the third version of the Woody, and then I'm going to show you how to build him and some tips on how to set him up in the boat, how to get him adjusted so he's working just perfectly and not making any noises or having any issues during the boat show. So I just opened the box on my Woody 3, and this is what it's going to look like and what it's going to include. First thing you'll see, this is actually a seat bottom cushion. I don't use it when I run Woody in the boat, but if you have a use for it, that's fine. We ship it just so it's complete. If you need to take the seat off and use it for something else, you can. This is a connection rod. This is going to connect the motor that's built into Woody to the MirageDrive and pedal him along. These are two different arms and upper arms. These are his legs and feet packaged together. Stuffed inside him there is the head, and then this is the body of Woody. The seat back is already attached. You'll notice it actually has our old seat plugs. Since it's built on and he's going to be sitting on the seat, there's no way to get down there and connect the modern seat plugs. So if you're running this on a 2011 or newer boat with the new fancy lock-in seat plugs, you'll back out the fittings that are in the seat. The legs, there is a left and there is a right, and then the arms, when you go to put those on his body, there's a way to make it from his upper arm to his lower arm where they're going to be on the outside, or if you run it here, the lower arm is going to be on the inside, it's going to be a narrower stance, so we'll take a look at that as well. This little fitting for the motor drive, eventually we'll hook this onto a MirageDrive itself, and then this other little piece, once we unsnap it, we're going to install that on the motor unit itself. Motor's right here. We're gonna put this little fitting facing outside. So as we bolt Woody together, one thing that you'll notice is on his arms there's a little bushing on the outside here, and there's also another bushing on the very inside. But when I install his arms, I actually want to create some friction, so I'm going to put the wood up against the wood, without a bushing. That way when I tighten him up, I can move his arm and it'll stay in place. Opposite's going to happen for his leg. His leg, you have bushings on the inside and outside of every piece. That way the bushing's on the bushing, the wood's not going to touch the wood and create any friction, because his legs are going to be constantly moving. And my first good tip is I like to use a little bit of grease when I'm installing the bolts, especially for his legs. This is his hip, and then again on his knee. I'm not sure where the noise comes from if you do get a little bit of noise, but I like to put a little bit of grease on the bolt in between the bolt and the bushing. This is a castor oil grease. You can use their favorite grease if you like. I've used bearing grease before, but the disadvantage is it's really black to begin with. This stuff's actually pretty nice and clear, so it makes a little bit less of a mess. I've used WD-40 in the past and it works, but it doesn't work for very long. Eventually it kind of dries out and it starts making noise if you're getting noise issues at the hip or at the knee. So now we've gone ahead, we've installed the arms and the legs. The bolts, I basically matched the way they were already installed. So the bolt heads are on the outside, it's a little bit cleaner. And then the nylock, end of the bolt that sticks in a little bit on the inside of the body. I attached this one fitting to the motor, greased up the knees and the hips. And then the head is the next thing to attach. It attaches right here. There's a bolt that's going to come up from the bottom and go thread in to a metal insert that's in there. And then this little line is just a tether, a little safety tether, and there's a hole in the back. You can see it right here. So you can actually run this line down through and then tie a knot on the other side. That way if something does happen and the bolt comes out, then the head's not going to go far when it falls off. So we're just about ready to put Woody in the boat and get him all adjusted, but I'm going to take a second and I'm going to go over the differences in the version 2 of the Woody Mannequin and the version 3. As you can see, the shape is the same. They're both really nice and three-dimensional. The motors are identical. The connection rod that it runs on is the same. The seat back is the same. To a customer, they're basically the same thing. What we wanted to do though, we wanted to make them a little bit stronger. We've had issues with his feet and with his hands. His hands are basically this ring which holds, some drinks, not others. but it's, as you can see, it's pretty fragile. When you go to ship your Woody, when you break them down, a lot of times, if you're like we are, we like to save time, so we don't take his arms off, we don't take his legs off, we don't really wrap it up quite so good, so he doesn't ship so well, and his most fragile parts are usually his feet and his hands. So his hands we changed, it's one solid piece now. These little bungees give the illusion of his hands, or his fingers on his hands, and they're nice because you can pin stuff in there and have them hold on to things like a cell phone or a fishing rod or something like that. The foot actually is, so it just has a socket that's cut into it, and the bungee is all that basically holds it into and makes it one piece. These are going to go on to the MirageDrive pedals. You know, the old one has a bungee here, but it's screwed in, so if you do get a impact, it basically just breaks the lower leg. The material is changed as well. This is actually a real plywood, where this is kind of a particle board or a pressed wood. It's stronger, and it's actually a little bit lighter as well. He's a really short person, so he's going to sit up in the forward seat plug holes. This boat doesn't have the new screw-in fittings, so I didn't have to remove them, but if it was a newer model, I like to use a flat screwdriver and basically put it in there diagonally, and really slowly you can just screw those fittings out, and then it's ready for his seat. So these side straps, I'm going to tighten them up as much as I possibly can, right down to where they bottom out. And then these back straps have a little bar, a little T-bar. We can fit them down through the scupper this way, and then they'll go sideways, and we'll be able to tighten them up. So just to make sure that I have them in there really nice and tight, I actually like to put a little pressure on each side of the shoulders as I'm tightening them. So down on the left-hand side, I'm actually going to push, and then over on the right, I'll push, and I'll get these nice and snug. He's in the boat nice and firm. When his motor's running and he's running the pedals, he's not going to be shaking back and forth. Another little tip that I'll give you is to put a little bit of that grease that we were using earlier on each of these fittings, just to keep it nice and quiet and keep the wear down. But what we need to figure out is basically the right amount of length, because if the rod's a little bit too long or if it's too short, the fins are going to move more one way than the other. And if it's grossly out of proportion, what'll happen is you'll turn on the motor and it'll basically bend the rod, it'll bottom out somewhere. So there's two different ways to adjust it. The first thing I've done here is I've put my little the other end of the fitting into the MirageDrive, and I put it right on number 5 to start, and we may need to move that. Each boat's going to be a little bit different, and the motor, in comparison to where he's sitting, if he's standing up forward or leaning back, that's going to change all that geometry. So you're going to really need to dial in Woody on whatever boat that he's sitting on at the moment. If I really need to make large adjustments, I'll change this MirageDrive fitting number. I'll run that fitting forward or run it back. And to make small little changes in the length of this rod, it's a threaded rod, so I can, you know, add one thread length longer or shorter on either end to make finite small adjustments. So you can actually reach down in here and you can move this rod with your hand, and you can kind of see how long it is on the long end, and then you can spin it back this other way and figure out about how short it is on the other hand. And right now it looks like I need to make the rod shorter, so I probably need to move this large adjustment from 5 up to 6. So now that I've played around with these adjustments and I'm pretty sure I'm either right on where I need to be or I'm very close, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put his feet into the pedals, and then we're going to actually plug him in and try it out. So you take either side of the strap off, and we'll use these little bungees and put them on his pedals. Like that. And then we'll put the strap right back on. So Woody's in his boat, he's tied down tight, everything is adjusted just about right. The power is right back here in line on the cord. So we'll turn him on, and we can see the fins are just about equal left to right. And when he's up on his display, those fins are going to be right up next to these crossbars. So I just put Woody in the Revo 11, and he fits just fine. It's pretty much the same way as the Sport. We're gonna put him in the forward seat holes, and we're gonna, on the end of the MirageDrive, this cockpit's quite a bit longer than the Sport, so I have it, instead of on number 5, which I was saying earlier, which is right in the middle, or number 6, which is just ahead of that, I have it on the second hole. And that makes up that difference, and it seems to be running just fine. I'll turn them on here. The fins are going right about where they need to be, and he's not moving around too much. I went ahead and put a life jacket on him, some sunglasses, a hat. Another cool accessory to run on Woody in the show is a sail. It's like a big banner in a show. It gets you up really high. Obviously the sport display that's right behind us, the whole boat and Woody, everything goes up there, and it's a perfect eye level. Basically your customers walk by and it's kind of an over and under shot because they're seeing the fins underneath and they're watching him move and they're seeing his legs move them, and it's just a moving display that catches attention. And then it's a great spot to mount monitors where you have underwater footage of the fins moving and top water footage of the boats cruising and how fast they go and how much fun they are. So it connects a lot of dots and it makes it a lot easier for the customer to kind of understand how everything works. If you have any questions, give us a call. This is the 3rd version of Woody. We don't have any of the second ones available. The first one was really simple. It was a one-dimensional display that worked off a motor that was mounted inside the boat. We don't really have anything for that anymore. But for the 2nd generation Woody, if you have one and you have any issues, broken hands or broken feet, we have replacement parts for everything. So just give us a call. The motors, we have motors that run on 110. We have motors that run on 220. So if you're in Europe or Australia, we can get you those motors and get you settled up. And that's it. Thanks for watching the video.